So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Prescribed Duties for Mankind, text number 13 of chapter 12. The chapter entitled Vitrasura's Glorious Death. Please repeat. Ayuhu Shri Ketir Aishvaryam Ashisha Purushasya Yaha Bhavanti Eva Hi Tat Kale Yathanikchor Viparyayaha Ayushri Kriti Aishvaryam Asitaha Purushasya Yaha Bhavanti eva hi tatkale Yathanikcho Viparyayaha Ayushri Kriti Aishvaryam Asisaha Purushasya Yaha Bhavanti eva hi tatkale Yathanikcho Viparyayaha. Please repeat. Ayuhu, longevity. Longevity. Shri, opulence. Kriti, fame. Aishvaryam, power. Asisaha, benedictions. Purusasya, of the living entity. Yaha, which. Bhavanti, arise. Eva, indeed. He, certainly. Tatkale, at that proper time. Yatha, just as. Anikchuhu, of one not desiring. Viparyayaha, reverse conditions. Translation Srila Prabhupada. Just as a person not inclined to die must nonetheless give up his longevity, opulence, fame and everything else at the time of death, so at the appointed time of victory one can gain all these when the Supreme Lord awards them by His mercy. Please repeat. Just as a person not inclined to die must give up everything at the time of death, his longevity, opulence, fame and everything else, so at the appointed time of victory one can gain all these when the Supreme Lord awards them by His mercy. You have more volume on the mic. Do you know? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Little more, little more. Hare Krishna. Okay, little more, just a little more. Okay, purport Srila Prabhupada. It is not good to be falsely puffed up saying that by one's own effort one has become opulent, learned, beautiful, and so on. All such good fortune is achieved through the mercy of the Lord. From another point of view, no one wants to die, and no one wants to be poor or ugly. Therefore, why does the living entity, against his will, receive such unwanted troubles? It is due to the mercy or chastisement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that one gains or loses everything material. No one is independent. Everyone is dependent on the mercy or chastisement of the Supreme Lord. There is a common saying in Bengal that the Lord has 10 hands. This means that he has control everywhere, in 8 directions and up and down. If he wants to take everything away from us with his 10 hands, we cannot protect anything with our 2 hands. Similarly, if he wants to bestow benedictions upon us, with his 10 hands, we cannot factually receive them all with our 2 hands. In other words, the benedictions exceed our ambitions. The conclusion is that even though we do not wish to be separated from our possessions, sometimes the Lord forcibly takes them from us, and sometimes he showers such benedictions upon us that we are unable to receive them at all. Therefore, either in opulence or in distress, we are not independent. Everything is dependent on the sweet will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mukam karoj vachalam pangam laite girim yad kripa tamaham bande Sri Guru dinatarinam. Ayuhu Shri Kriti Aishwaryam Asishaha Purushasyayaha Bhavanti eva hi tat kale yathan nikcho viparyayaha. Just as a person not inclined to die must nonetheless give up his longevity, opulence, fame, and everything else at the time of death, so at the appointed time of victory, one can gain all these when the Supreme Lord awards them by his mercy. Yes. So this is Vitrasura encouraging Indra to kill him. And he's saying here, look, at the time of death you have to lose everything, even if you don't want to, right? A person not inclined to die. But we've already heard from Vitrasura, his conversation, that he's not concerned about death, which is remarkable, is it not? In fact, he's welcoming it, because he's thinking, this will be my victory. Indra is thinking, if I kill Vitrasura, that's my victory. Vitrasura is thinking, if I'm killed, then that is my victory. I'll be killed with a weapon made specially by the order of the Supreme Lord, by his mercy, to give me mercy. And what is that mercy? To escape from the bondage of illusion, from this material world, to enter the transcendental plane and live eternally as an associate of the Supreme Lord. So what's the loss in that? There's only victory. But Indra is thinking, I want this position, I want to be king of heaven, it's my duty to perform in this way, so my victory is to kill Vitrasura. After all, he has been created by a yajna, by Tashva, because I killed his brother. I killed Vishvarup, his brother. But now I'm very nervous about killing another Brahman. This is Indra. That's why Vitrasura is encouraging, look, at the time of death you lose everything. And similarly, we gain so many things by force that come to us. Longevity, opulence, fame, and benedictions. These are the 4 things mentioned. Longevity, opulence. It's good to have a long life, but you should have some opulence to enjoy it. And then you should have fame. You should be well respected and not infamous, of course, but you should also have all sorts of benedictions, children, land, property, like that. So this is the materialist, and the materialist is apt to think that religion means that, to ameliorate, make better, improve the material situation. And many governments, they create religions for that purpose, right? The Council of Nicaea, that emperor of Rome, he got together and he said, we want a state religion, we want a state scripture, and we want to have a state deity. He was in charge, I think Constantine, 325. He was in charge of the kingdom. It was falling apart, the Roman Empire. So he wants a religion. Oh, it will regulate the people materially. So governments often think like that. Religions are very nice because they make people park their motor cars properly. They thieve less. They murder less. They join the army and fight for me. So we'll make a religion that makes people good citizens of this material world. And the individual citizen is thinking, yes, if I do my duty to the state, if I do good things, then I'll get good things. I'll enjoy. Because God is pleased with me. He'll give me longevity, opulence, fame, benedictions. So, but Vitrasura, he knows better than that. He knows that this dukkhalayama sashvatam, whatever you attain this world, it's just misery. You're going to be in anxiety to get it. You're going to be in anxiety trying to keep it. And you're going to be lamenting when you lose it. Just like Prabhupada says, if Krishna wants, he can take everything away with 10 hands, and he can give it with 10 hands. But the whole point here is that Vitrasura is telling that he's giving the sublime position, the sublime way of viewing reality. He's telling it to Indra. So, just so we get the context, we'll go back to 10. And this has been Vitrasura beginning his discussion here. It's actually in the middle, but the point of today's verse will be illustrated more clearly by this section. O King Indra, as a wooden doll that looks like a woman, or as an animal made of grass and leaves, cannot move or dance independently, but depends fully on the person who handles it, all of us dance according to the desire of the Supreme Controller, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is independent. The three Purushas, Karanadakshay Vishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu and Shiradakshay Vishnu, the material nature, the total material energy, the false ego, the 5 material elements, the material senses, the mind, the intelligence and consciousness cannot create the material manifestation without the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A foolish, senseless person cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And although always dependent, the foolish person falsely thinks himself the Supreme. If one thinks according to my previous fruitive actions, according to one's previous fruitive actions, one's material body is created by the father and mother, and the same body is annihilated by another agent, as another animal is devoured by a tiger. This is not proper understanding. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself creates and devours the living beings through other living beings. And then today's verse. Just as a person not inclined to die must nonetheless give up his longevity, opulence, fame, and benedictions at the time of death, so at the appointed time of victory, one can gain all these when the Supreme Lord awards them by his mercy. Since everything is dependent on the supreme will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should be equipoised in fame, defamation, victory and defeat, life and death. In their effects, represented as happiness and distress, one should maintain oneself in equilibrium without anxiety. So this is the sublime view. The Vedic knowledge is there, giving full discussion about cosmology, creation, the Supreme Lord, His expansions, incarnations, scheduled incarnations, the nature of the soul, what is liberation, what is bondage, what is the necessity. Everything is there, given in the Vedas. But what is the correct darshan? That means what is the correct view of it all? Because there's the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vedas, highly esoteric knowledge. So what is the correct understanding? Inevitably, when we get some information, we analyze it and come to conclusions. How are we to know that we have the correct one? So here, the sublime vision of the devotee is, and particularly the karma moksha philosophy is being dispelled. The devotee here, Vritrasura, is explaining that everything should be seen as the mercy of the Supreme Lord. In the karma moksha philosophy, as was just discarded there, you may think that according to my mother and father, according to the laws of karma, I was born in this family, this house, these events. I was born a man, I was born a child, I was born a woman, whatever. I was born in certain bodily and physical conditions, and this is all the result of my karma. But that is incorrect. This is the point in discussion here at the Bhagavatam, that actually nothing is independent of the Supreme Lord. So the sublime understanding is to see everything in relationship to the Supreme Lord. If we make Sri Sri Gaurnitai Krishna Balaram Radhasham Sundar Lalit Vishaka Ki Jai, if we make the law of karma as the final operative principle, then we're still in illusion. This is the point. Yes, according to the law of karma, there are regularities. There is action and reaction. But everything is below the ultimate principle, which is that everything is resting on the sweet will of the Supreme Lord. Without His sanction, without His okay, nothing can happen. And not only that, the whole creation and the principles within which that are operating by His grace. They don't operate independent of His control. So this view puts the Supreme Lord in immediate focus for the devotee. And this is actually reality. When you've learned the truth, Krishna explains, you will see that all beings are in me, are but part of me, and are mine. The Uttamadikari, Uttama, he's got the highest qualification. He sees everything within Krishna, and Krishna within everything. So, the instruction here for us, sadhakas, is to see like that. We may not have come to realization, but we should learn to see everything in that way. That will bring us to the reality of this realization, that everything is the expression of Krishna's mercy. There are 6 darshans actually, and if one understands these, Prabhupada explains, then you'll understand all philosophy. There are 6 basic components: views of the Vedas, how to understand the Vedas, 6 darshans, 6 views. The first one is Vaisheshika. That is propounded by Gautama. And he says atoms and void. That everything is atoms and voids. But that is obviously a bogus philosophy, because void means doesn't exist. So in that philosophy there's only atoms. You cannot turn void into something, because void by definition doesn't exist. So there's a root at the contradiction, that there's atoms and void. Void doesn't exist. You can't say void is an empty space, because you're making it something. You can't say that void is an absence of light, because you're making it into something. You cannot say that void is darkness, because darkness is something. So if you say everything is atoms and void, well, you're being contradictory, because there's only, by your definition, there's only atoms that are existing. So this is voidism, and comes out in the modern material scientists, voidistic religions, Buddhism. They believe that the goal of life is to non-exist. So then the next darshan is Nyaya. That is by the head sage of that is Kannada. And so Nimai Pandit was a great exponent of Nyaya. In the Nyaya philosophy, the idea is that we can analyze reality and we see that it's running according to certain laws, logical laws. So therefore it must have emanated from a supreme intelligence that is logical and analytical. Therefore, by applying logic and analysis and dispelling false logic, then we can eventually come to a realization of the absolute. That is the philosophy of Nyaya. Of course, the mistake there is that they're putting Nyaya or logic as the supreme principle. If there is a supreme guiding principle, then why do you consider that the principles he's created, such as logic and argument, logical deduction, induction, why do you consider that he is subordinate to them? Because he has created them, he's obviously in a superior position. And you must consider that though he's supremely intelligent, and because he's supremely intelligent, why should he care to put himself under those laws and therefore subject to discovery by your usage of those laws of logic? Why do you have these presumptions? What's the basis for your presumption? So why do you presume the Supreme Lord is subject to logic if He's created it? Just like we see in this world, the government is not subject to the traffic laws. When they want to go to a certain place, they dispel all the traffic rules and regulations and drive there straight away. So yes, there are principles, logical regularities, and you can get some insight into the absolute truth by examining them. This is the modern scientific idea. But don't presume that you can understand everything in that way. Don't presume that logic and argument and mathematics is the supreme tool. What is your argument for that? That would make logic and argument God. But it is a tool. And it is not logical to say that logic and argument is God, because it's a part of the creation. So it's subordinate. Anyway, so then the next idea is, next darshan is Sankhya. In Sankhya philosophy, the other darshan is, that's by Kapila. He says that everything is a combination of Purusha and Prakriti. That there's energy and the energetic, the sun and the sunlight, the creation and the creator. the production and the producer. So in this idea, comes to dualism, and it also, modern science, they analyze the material elements and they separate them all. In the previous sloka we saw that. There's the 5 gross elements, the 5 subtle elements, the 5 sense objects, so on and so forth. So by analysis, this is, you can see it's progressing from Nyaya, of the material elements, that I will be able to come to some understanding. So this is also incorrect, as Kapil Dev in the 3rd canto explains, because you are now seeing the energy and the energetic in this material world, but you're presuming that that's everything, that the material creation is everything. Why don't you presume that there is a creation beyond the material? Why do you presume that everything is just within your grasp? Why are you presuming that you are the measure of all things? So your analysis, your scientific analysis of the material elements is only going to bestow partial knowledge. So at this point Patanjali comes forward and he says, yes, all this logic and analysis and measurement and discussion, that can only take you so far. So now what you must do is you must meditate. You must enter samadhi, and instead of using your intelligence and mind, you will purify your consciousness and you will enter into mystic union, kaivalya, with the Supreme Oversoul, who is the source. So leave all your intellectualism behind and just meditate, and through that, and by uniting yourself with that Supreme Oversoul, you also will become liberated. So instead of becoming a child of Prakriti and Purusha, you will become the Purusha. Different elements in the yogic path. That you will be a controller, you will get all siddhis, you will be above the laws of the material energy, you'll be like one of those governors that don't have to follow the laws of the land. And then then Janmini comes forward with Karma Mimamsa. Says, no, look, why are you worrying about all this meditation and analysis? Just, can't you see everything is working according to laws? Yes, karma. But now, you just understand that, act in accordance with the laws of karma, and everything will come to you automatically. You don't need to worship God. You just have to be a good moral person and everything good will come to you. So you hear that often, do you not? You don't have to worry. Just be a good person. That's what God wants. Whether He exists or not, it's not really important. Because if He exists, He'll give you good things for being a good person. And if He doesn't exist, you'll get good things anyway for being a good person, because the ultimate principle is karma. So that is turning work into God, the supreme principle. Karma has now become God. Before it was logic, the void or whatever. Now the supreme principle is just work. So this is the philosophy of the donkeys also. If you want something, work like a donkey. So this argument, actually this is what Krishna said to Nanda Maharaj before the Govardhan Leela. Right? He said, why are you worshipping Govardhan? Is this superstition or something? And why do you have to do this? Is it a family tradition? Don't just worship, worship Govardhan Hill. It's giving us everything, Govardhan Hill. And if we're good people, we'll get good things anyway. So this is also, so then at this point Vedavyas comes forward and he said, no, Everything isn't karma. Everything is the mercy of the Supreme Lord. That is called Uttaramangs. That is the sixth darshan. And it is composed in the Vedanta Sutra. Therefore, the Vedanta Sutra is commentated upon by all the Vaishnavacharyas, because it's the basic summation of the Vedas. And how you interpret that is your darshan. So in the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya, we have Baladev Vidyabhushan's Govindabhasya. So, the Vaishnava understanding is the sublime understanding, and that's what Arjuna received at the battlefield of Kurukshetra in the 11th canto. Previous to that, he was thinking, we perform yagyas to devas, we become moral principles, we follow dharma, artha, karma, we will get liberation in the future. He was thinking in that way. But once he saw the Mahapurush, the Virat Rupa, the universal form of Krishna, and how that Krishna was directly in touch with everything. And this is our philosophy, Achintya Beda Bed, that actually everything is Krishna. The material energy is Krishna. The spiritual energy is Krishna. The living entity is Krishna. The Supreme Lord, He's the controller of everything. And everything is resting upon Him. Sutre mani gana iva. Not one atom, molecule, not one movement of a leaf, not one photon in the universe is independent of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, the sublime understanding of reality is to see everything as His mercy. Do you see the point? We have up the road here Chatigar. So Krishna was being taken from Gokul because so many Asura came. Putana, false guru. So what does Putana give? The Putana gives this understanding that religiosity, work, knowledge, it is all meant to improve this material world. And they view religion in that way. They get an organized religion and they invent their liturgy and their systems and their power structures, and they consider that when we have more land and more property and more buildings, that is the fruit of religiosity. But the Vitrasura here, this Asura, we see from his words, he has come to the sublime position. He's come to the sublime Mahatmanas tamam patha Vasudeve savamiti. What is that verse? Ashradha dana purusha dharmasyasya apranta. Yes. Sasava bid bhajati mam sava bhavena bharata. Once you see everything as directly the Supreme Lord present directly, and everything as His mercy, then you're coming into reality. And all the Putanas, they fill you up with baggage. Just like at Chatigar, Krishna took rest for protection underneath the cart. And the cart had lots of pots and pans. But then Shaktasura tried to destroy Krishna, but he was destroyed and all the pots and pans were dissipated. So this means Sava Upadi Vinir Muktam. At the beginning, because of the false Putanas of this world, we think that to enjoy materially, to be interested in some empirical approach to religiosity, make something bigger, more expansive, more land and property, that this will be the sublime expression of our religiosity. This is very far from the truth, very far from the truth. There's one verse, we were discussing it. One who sees action in inaction, and action in inaction. So in this material world, people look at the actual transcendentalist, like Vitrasura. He doesn't want anything in this world. He's inactive. He's not even concerned about his body. What to speak of some property or some family situation. He's looking, he's hoping, yes, I can die gloriously in the battle, and then I'll go to the spiritual world. I'll be an associate of the Supreme Lord. He has no desire for anything in this material world. And he's seeing everything as the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And that is his qualification for the supreme transcendental abode. We would do well to learn this. But the materialist is thinking, let me hang on to my position, Indra. Let me maintain my opulence. And Vitrasura is saying, look, you're going to lose everything. You'll get everything anyway by the grace of the Supreme Lord. So why are you worried? So the worry is that Indra has, here is, he's already had so much trouble because he killed Vitrasura. Now he's thinking, I've got a great Vaishnav, realized soul. And in some of his slokas he glorifies Vitrasura later on. This is a great Brahmana who's realized the absolute truth, who's realized everything is Krishna directly. Everything is the mercy of Krishna. He's a surrendered soul with this mentality. He doesn't have any design to enjoy in this world. He will take everything as the mercy. And I've got to kill him? Not more bad karma. I've already had so much trouble with Vitrasura. He gave it the sinful reactions in 4 places, right? 1 to the water, 1 to women, 1 to land, and to trees. He divided it up. So who's going to take this? This sinful reaction. So he's in a quandary. This is a very interesting situation. The whole thing started, actually, at least in the recent history, he didn't give respect to Brihaspati. So Brihaspati was offended by Indra's self-intoxication during the festival. So, my God, all these things have happened. So this is a very important point also, that here is Vitrasura, he's a great devotee, and I've got to kill him. This is Indra's mentality. What am I going to do now? So this is, as we were saying before, the material version of the Vedas. Well, maybe in the future I can perform some yajna, some manipulation. So this is the material view, that I will manipulate things in a certain way to get some material opulence, and I'll manipulate in a certain way to avoid sinful reactions. So this is all false religion. And this is the point that Vitrasura is making now to Indra. You should live in this mentality, Indra, that everything is the mercy of the Supreme Lord, and accept it as such. And this is you just perform your bhajan, your worship of Krishna, to please him, and you just take everything that comes as his mercy. You just be his devotee. You try to realize him. This is real action in inaction. The materialist looks at the sadhu sitting under the tree chanting and thinks we're doing useless thing. What's he not doing anything? He's inactive. But what is the sadhu doing? He's chanting mala, he's putting his consciousness in transcendence, and he's realizing Krishna. This is action in inaction. But what's the materialist? He's very busy building a house, creating a business, mastering a country, becoming in power through politics. But this is all inaction. There has been so many big politicians, so many big leaders, so many big philosophers, so many scientists writing formulas and analysis and logicians and poets. But it's all forgotten. It's all inaction. It has no consequence. It looks very active, but it's all inaction. It produces nothing. It's like the dance of fireflies in the night. What did Shakespeare say? Shakespeare said all the world's a stage, and we have our entrances and we have our exit, right? And before you get up on stage, you should learn to dance. If you try to learn on stage, you look a fool. So we come into this life, we don't know anything, and then we leave. We put up a big storm. I'm a big king. I'm a mother. I'm a feminist. I'm a communist. Strutting around the stage, full of our self-importance, but it's all useless. The play's over, the lights are switched off, everyone goes home. So the whole material creation, massive buildings, so much land, property, so many certificates, letters behind your name, is all inaction, it's all useless, because the lights go out and everything is just withdrawn within Mahavishnu. It's explained there in the Chaitanya Brahma Samhita that everybody is just part of the dream of Mahavishnu. He's consorting with Ramadevi and Yoganidra in the causal ocean, and all the endless billions of universes with all the endless trillion billions of living entities, they're all part of his dream. So this is inactivity, because it has no consequence. So the transcendentalist, the real religiosity, points to that eternal situation. It doesn't say try to manipulate through logic or grossly, or try to enjoy anything in this material world. The advice of the Vedas is atato brahma jignas. Krishna says, what is his greatest secrets? Of secret things I am silence, he says. That means you should be silent about material things. Deal with them as little as possible, but your consciousness should be inquiring into realization of transcendence. That is the real action. And Vitrasura is very eager for that. He wants to leave. And Indra, the attached materialist, is confused. Of course, that is a glory of Indra, that he has some conscience. I shouldn't kill the Brahmins. What's that verse? Acharya mam vijanyaham navamanyeta kahichit sadhunam hridayam tvaham sadhunam hridayam mayam. So all these, the importance of the sadhu cannot be understated also in this part of the Leela. And Indra understands that. I've already got into trouble just by offending Brihaspati. I had a terrible time because of Vishwarup. Now I'm going to have a terrible time because of Vitrasura. How has this all come? So he is also on the path of learning. But we see Vitrasura, he's on that sublime path. And the sublime path is that we shouldn't desire anything in this material world. Now, of course, we have our attachments. So how is that overcome? Sava upudi vinaya muktam tat paratrena nirmalam rishikesha rishikena sevanam bhaktam uchite. That if you engage in bhakti, how? Jivado, starting with the tongue. Vasudeva Bhagavati bhakti-yoga payoti janiti yashu vairagam jnanam chad. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nasta prayashu. If we chant Hare Krishna and we read the Bhagavad philosophy and we study the purports of the great acharyas, then we derive great intelligence from these Leela. And from this particular section of the Leela, we should meditate on the renunciation of Vitrasura. He's not concerned. He knows that religiosity means to really live the life of the spirit, not to be concerned with any worldly acquisitions, but rather the realization of the absolute truth. And there's nothing more sublime than that. So finish on that point. Srila Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Any questions? Wattage.
What if somehow we of Vrindavan, like Indra of Vrindavan, so voluntarily you do that?
What is what?
What if somehow we of Vrindavan, like Indra offended Brihaspati?
Indra offended Brihaspati, yeah.
So what can be done?
Well, that's what Indra's been trying to do for the last 3 or 4 chapters. Well, of course, prevention is better than cure. So therefore, this is the point. Brahmana janati Brahman. That those devotees who are actually realized in the absolute truth, we should be a little bit careful with them. But we should make sure that they are absolutely realized in the absolute truth. We shouldn't just take devotees on terms of cloth. But those devotees like Vitrasura, he's explaining his advancement through his words. A Brahmana is known through his words. So prevention is better than cure. But generally, if you make some mistake by chance, unknowingly, then you apologize, right? But Brihaspati, where he disappeared from in front of Indra, you know that section, so he couldn't apologize. Nor should we presume that, oh, I made an offense, therefore that person is obliged to accept my apology. Because free will is always there, Kriya Shakti, Icha Shakti. So prevention is better than cure, but if you make some offense, then you should apologize. Isn't that logical? Any other question? Yeah?
Thank you very much. In terms of everything being the mercy of the Supreme Lord.
Huh?
Everything is the mercy of the Supreme Lord.
This is the whole point here, right? We're learning from the great Mahabhagavat. Because generally, you know, we've been taught chemical explanation in school, right? And then you've learnt about the law of karma, and you're thinking that's operating. But the sublime position, this is today's class, the major point. The major position is that you should see everything as the mercy of Krishna.
I wanted to inquire about how we understand Krishna's position as he's in Goloka Vrindavan, he's playing with the cows and the goat boys. Now we understand everything is the mercy of the Supreme Lord. How do we understand of Krishna's situation, is the Krishna Swayam Bhagavan Krishna versus the superintendents of his Purusha avatars? Can you explain a little deeper how?
You should see everything directly as the mercy of Krishna. That's it. That's the whole point. Directly, Krishna. Krishna, he will reciprocate with how you worship him. Yeyatam mam prapadyante. So the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they worship Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan, Gopinath, Govinda, Madan Mohan. So we see everything as directly the mercy of Krishna. That is the truth. So it is up to you how you relate to Krishna. If you think that everything is working according to the law of karma, that's how you're going to be reciprocating with Krishna, right? Just like the material scientists, they think everything is atoms and chemical laws. That's the way they're reciprocating with the Supreme Lord. They're in ignorance. So some people are thinking, I worship the demigods, and they're reciprocating in that way. But the whole point of the Bhagavatam and taking shelter of a disciplic succession is that it presents Ishtadev, the object of worship. So we're the followers of Gaur-Nitai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Panchatattva, and Yuga Avatar Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is given Radhasham Sundar as the sublime object of meditation. So it's according to how you approach the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Lord will reciprocate with you. And he's not limited by space and time. Krishna is in Golok, Krishna is in Gokul. Where is Krishna? He says, I'm not here, there. Where am I? I'm where my devotees are hearing and chanting about me. That's where Krishna is. So your thinking is in Golok, very far away. No, Krishna is within the heart. Chintamani prakara satma sukha. Krishna is within the heart. So the devotee, he meditates on Krishna in the heart. And he realizes the transcendental world within his heart. Janma tame divyam. And when he realizes that everything is Krishna and everything is the mercy of Krishna, then Mahatmanastaman Patha, Devim Prakritim Ashrita. Then he's under the transcendental energy. So you have to understand that you're not just reading a mathematics book, but you're also part of the mathematics book. It's according to your actions, mental, physical, spiritual, you will draw reciprocation from Krishna. Indra is drawing his reciprocation. Vitrasura is drawing his. Swasta, Vishwara, they're all reciprocating with Krishna ultimately. So instead of viewing the absolute truth as some kind of object through some jnana mishri bhakti, I'm studying the absolute truth, we should rather, following in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, enter into reciprocation with the Supreme Lord by following the orders of Acharya, Sevaya, by following the absolute truth, by being engaged in the practical service, then you realize Krishna. So you have to understand your own ability. Don't think it'll happen automatically. I'll just study. No, everything that you do counts. So apply yourself properly. Any other question? Is that satisfactory? Okay. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sadhu Sangha, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai.